Hey everyone, it's Hannah Saber from HR Images. In today's video, I'll be giving you my first impression of the brand new 24-70 GM Mark II lens, so stay tuned. Before we get started, if you haven't yet, do check out my Facebook groups below. I'm constantly active in those communities. Feel free to join, share your work, ask questions. I'm always active to help everyone as much as I can on that group, and that's where I share a lot of my work. Feel free to also check out my Instagram page as well to constantly see updates of images that I do capture with various products as well as upcoming reviews. I recently received the 24-70 GM Mark II from Sony to have for the weekend. Now, this video is going to be more of a first impression video as I haven't had long with it. So to do a full review, I would need a bit more time, but I took this lens out over the weekend and used it as much as I can. Comparing this lens to the first gen model, here's a picture side-by-side comparison showing you the size of the Mark II versus the Mark I. Now, the Mark II is significantly smaller than the Mark I and also a lot lighter. People have been asking me, is it worth the upgrade from the Mark I to Mark II? So in this video, I'll be going through, showing you some images as well as some sample videos, just to show you how well this lens can perform, giving you the decision to judge whether or not you should be able to upgrade to the Mark II. So far using this lens, I've actually been very impressed. Now with the Mark II version, like all the other G Masters, it now comes with an aperture ring. The Mark I version doesn't come with an aperture ring, but the Mark II does. I have actually really loved the idea how Sony has been implementing the aperture ring in all their upcoming lenses. With the build quality, it is a solid build. The focus ring is actually firm, so when you're zooming in and out, you've got that bit of firmness against it, so you have less creep in this lens. The focus ring is a smoother turn comparing it to the actual zoom ring, but it also has an iris lock where you can lock the lens in just to avoid any little creep. Now using this lens over the weekend, I haven't noticed any creep and I haven't really used the iris lock. Again, you have the declick button for the aperture ring, so you can have the click on, and where I always keep mine on, because in case I knock it, it's harder to knock accidentally, whereas if you have the declick off, which is great for video because it's very smooth, but a little nudge can move it. But in saying that, it's actually very firm in the aperture ring, so it's not easy to knock around. This lens now has a closer minimum focus of 20 centimeters. Just showing you this sample image. This image was captured at 24mm at very minimum close distance to the subject, and this image was captured at 70mm at its closest to the subject, 20 centimeters. It's actually been a great lens if you're doing a lot of weddings and stuff and you want a lot of detail shots opposed to changing to your macro lens like the 7200 GM. You can get close to your subject and get some nice detail shots, which is great because then that way you don't have to constantly change lens where you want to change from a macro lens to a different lens just to get some nice close-up shots, where you can basically do it now all in one. So you can get really great detail shots, close-up ring shots and that with the new 24-70 GM Mark II. In this lens, I haven't noticed any chromatic aberration with this lens. Handles it really well. Now, there's times when I've used it where I'm shooting against the sun. So here are a couple of images that I've captured again where I'm facing the sun. Some of the images won't come up with a lens with that lens flare. Sometimes it will, just sort of depends on the angle and the way the sun is hitting, and if it's behind a cloud or a tree and you're adding that sort of bit of lens flare, that little star peeping out of the cloud, you can actually have sometimes lens flare. Now lens flare doesn't bother me so much. It can add a bit of artistic approach to your image, but some people may not like it, some people may not. Now in saying that, I didn't have a lens hood, so it didn't give me a lens hood with this, so it could be different having a lens hood on, but these images were captured without a lens hood. I'm actually being really impressed on, using this lens, being able to go around and just capture everything. So just having that versatility, having a 24-70mm lens where you can get a wide angle shot as well as a very close-up detail shots. Having it over the weekend, going to the farm, taking my kids down there, I decided to use them as subjects for modeling. So giving you a bit of a portrait perspective as well as a bit of landscapes. Using these images were all captured at 70mm f2.8. The performance on this lens, the focusing is really fast, really quick, nailing everything. The images are sharp. Love how amazing you can be able to capture your portraits, getting that bit of nice background blur. Now, these images that I am putting up here now, I've added a sun flare on the side, so that is not from the lens, that's actually from post-processing. I just wanted to add that bit of effect because I liked how the glow of light was hitting my kids. Shooting at f2.8, Sony has advertised it as sharp in the center, especially in the corner. So here's an image that I've captured just of a book with words. It's very sharp in the center and showing you the corners, it is still sharp. This is one of my favorite shots, capturing this at the Vivid Festival in Sydney during my photo walk. There was a lightning storm happening in the background while the city was lit up with a lot of lights. Sitting there capturing this at 70mm. This image was captured at f11 and just amazingly how sharp it is, this lens at f11, and the detail that it captures is just mind-blowing. Walking around with it, being a lightweight compact lens, great for travel. It's a lot lighter than the first gen, so it is, if you are after a lightweight lens, the Mark II is a great upgrade from the first gen model. But if you're not so much worried about the weight or the size of it, or even the aperture ring, this is what this lens have better than what the first gen is. Showing you this video clip, what Sony has implemented on this lens, similar to the 7200, is the follow focus. Now, this is a video of my daughter coming back and forth to me while I'm zooming in and out and zooming in closer to her face as well. And you can see how the focus stays, the eye autofocus stays intact without losing the focus. Where the older generation, if you're zooming in and out while in focus, sometimes the focusing can jump and it will come back into it in play. Whereas the GM Mark II, it sticks onto your subject back and forth. This is another video clip that I did using more of a stills perspective. So if you are shooting, a model walking towards you, or a catwalk or something like that, or even wildlife, as you're zooming out and in, the focus sticks on the subject. It doesn't lose focus. So if you're shooting in burst mode, you're not gonna have that jump in focus when your images are out of focus. And that's what I liked about this lens. Now, this 24-70 Mark II might not be for everyone. Some people I know who have not decided to upgrade because they feel like it might not be worth it. But for a videographer perspective, if you want that follow focus, the 24-70 GM Mark II is exactly like the 7200 Mark II, where it has that nice follow focus without losing the focus as you're zooming in and out, which is really good, especially for stills, sports photographers, or any way that you want to follow your subject back and forth and not lose focus. This is a great addition to what the first gen has. Now, that concludes to my quick first impression video of the 24-70 GM Mark II. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell notification to get notified whenever future videos are coming up. I have a lot of gear reviews coming up, so do stay tuned for those. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy and have a good night. See you guys.